This video was digitized from a reel of silent 8mm film, and it's of Operation Sail in 1976. And Operation Sail was a big, huge tall ship event in 1976, the tall ships visited numerous ports in the United States to celebrate America's bicentennial, and this was in Newport, Rhode Island. And this actually starts off, I think, the day before the big parade that you're going to see as the video goes on. And you'll see a lot of the that bridge that you just saw a minute ago, and it's the Claiborne-Pell Bridge. There it is right there. And it spans the East Passage of Narragansett Bay. And I'm not going to try to name off all these tall ships. For one, I'm not too sure which what their names are. You know, a lot of them, like these right here, these three-masted barks, look similar. So, and I can't really make them out. The only one that you can definitely make out in this video is the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Eagle, and she was a three-masted bark. And the way you can identify her was she's got a red racing stripe up on her bow, and she was actually the last Coast Guard cutter to get her racing stripe, and she got it painted on in 1976, just for the big, huge bicentennial tall ship parades that she would be in. And I think that's her right there, inboard of the other ship there. You can kind of make out her red racing stripe a little bit, and you'll see more of her. And you'll be able to pick her out. And of course, there's, like I mentioned earlier, the Claiborne-Pell Bridge. But yeah, just some great footage of OPSAIL 1976 in Newport, Rhode Island, and I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this piece of history, and like and subscribe if you'd like to see more military and patriotic videos, which I try to upload every other day on my site. And if you're interested in a good read, check out my books at www.edsemler.com.